When you hear the word fashion or modeling, what's actually come to your mind? Is it the runways, luxury brands, the Instagram aesthetics, beautiful photo shoots, the perfect outfits, or glitz and glamour? But behind those polished images and curated feeds, there's actually another whole reality people rarely talks about. Welcome back to Through Archives, Conversation Beyond Thoughts. I'm your host, Salim Dimack, and today's conversation is actually really layered, honest, and necessary. Today, we are talking about the fashion and modeling industry in Tanzania and across Africa, not just because of the beauty of it, but the system behind it. We are talking about the reality that is actually filled with a lot of pressure, rejections, exploitation, underpayment, and dreams that sometimes cost more than what they give back. The larger question that we have to ask ourselves is that, are we building sustainable creative industry, or are the creatives trapped in circles that continue to exploit their talent? This is the reality of fashion and modeling industry in Africa. Fashion is one of the most visible and multi-billion dollar industry in the world, but people do see the final product of the industry. Especially we see the magazine covers, the campaign shoots, runway walks, and mostly the lifestyles of models or the fashion designers. But very few see what actually happens before the camera starts rolling. Most of the time, people do enter modeling thinking it is an easy money or instant fame. The bad thing is that nowadays social media has made the industry look glamorous, but the reality is for many African creatives, the reality is very different. There are models actually attending casting every week without getting selected, designer creating collections with little support or funding, stylists working long hours without proper pay, and photographers trading exposure for survival. Creative constantly trying to prove that African talent deserves global recognition. But I would say the industry does look shiny from the outside, but behind the scenes, many are exhausted. That's the truth. And passion alone cannot just sustain an industry. Before we dig deep, first of all, look into the art of modeling, because most do have misunderstanding of modeling being only one thing. There are different types of modeling, and each come with different expectations, opportunities, and its own pressure. So let's break them down. First of all, there is high fashion modeling. This actually is what's most thing from outside looking in. We look at high fashion, which is always our runways, editorial photo shoots, luxury campaigns, the fashion week, international magazines like Vogue, Allure, Cosmopolitan. But when we look at the nitty gritty, this category has really strict standards. Most of the time, you need to have hit genetic lottery to be in this category because of the height requirement. Most of the high fashion models start from 5'10" feet. Model like Kendall Jenner, the GT Hadid, Bella Hadid, you can see the type of height they have. Also, they have specific body proportions, distinct facial structure, certain skin presentation. While the world of high fashion modeling does look elite, it can also be one of the mentally demanding spaces because many models constantly feel pressure to maintain unrealistic beauty standards to stay relevant. Others develop insecurities, others struggle with body images, and some of them lose their sense of identity. This type of modeling category is very selective in terms of your look. Africa really take a toll into breaking into this kind of modeling, especially globally, because the system isn't built to push our models to this kind of category. Especially in Africa, we don't have high fashion agencies. For example, IMG, Wilmina, the Ford models. So you could see that this kind of modeling is really tough to break through. But on the other flip of the coin, we do have commercial or catalog modeling. Commercial modeling is more relatable and accessible because it usually includes advertisement for brands, beauty campaigns, billboards, TV commercials, and even social media promotion. This is less strict in terms of body type and the looks. The focus here is less about extreme fashion standards and more about relatability. Brands want faces people connect with. This category has grown massively because of social media and influencer culture. Honestly, here is where most of models actually find consistent work. But How much you make depends on image usage, web and digital usage, prints, television. You can see in this type of modeling, you can earn up to $6,000 per day or per shoot. Here, real people are needed because they want to sell the product or the lifestyle to normal people. Birth market is going to advertising agency as a client. You can see that there's actually a big difference between the commercial modeling and high fashion. I'll say that in high fashion, it will propel you to have a bigger name or be really famous differently with the catalog modeling. Because in high fashion, you usually work for all these high fashion weeks and be on the covers of Allure, Vogue, Cosmopolitans. So you can grow a bigger name. But if you really want to make money and take career seriously, I would say catalog modeling is actually the way to go because you would find consistent work every day because there are different types of brands, big companies that want relatable models for the normal consumer of their product or services. Even then, there are some challenges, for example, unclear contract, payments, people being underpaid, creatives being expected to work for exposure. But I'll say if you really do have a good agency or management, you could forego all of these challenges. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about the modeling agencies, especially here in Tanzania and across Africa. I say the modeling agency does play a bigger role into the modeling industry, how it can grow. They are supposed to be guiders of the models, find them job, build career, and protect them legally. But in emerging industries, especially in Tanzania, some models end up managing themselves, dealing with unclear agreements, delayed payment, or not getting paid at all sometimes. You can see that the bigger question becomes if the talent is there and we know it is, what actually is missing? Is it the structure, investment, or the system doesn't fully value the creatives within it? In Tanzania, one of the biggest fashion events in the region is Swahili Fashion Week, a major opportunity for designers and models to be seen. But even with this kind of platform, does it translate into the long-term growth or just visibility for the moment? Because most of the time, a lot of models and designers showcasing their collection. But when you try to follow up on the career of these models, designers, you ask yourself, where did this model's career? Because you can find her in any kind of adverts, online stores, billboards of different kind of brands. So it's really mind-boggling where this huge platform to showcase themselves went through. Now let's talk about across Africa. If we're being honest, South Africa seems to be in a better position when it comes into fashion and modeling. South Africa has built itself. There's a little bit of structure, established agencies, clearer system, better connection to international market, and fashion weeks that actually attract global attention. South Africa, a lot of international model that's have propelled. We have Candice on the pole, there's Ansolet, there is Santo. You can see the kind of creatives who have come out of South Africa. But even so, it's not that perfect, but at least there is a clear path how someone goes from being discovered to actually build a career compared to East or West Africa. Talent is there, but the system is not as strong, fewer professional agencies, inconsistent pay, limited access to international exposure, and that's where frustration comes. The African creative struggle because the talent has never been the problem. Africa has some of the most expressive and culturally rich fashion industry from Lagos to Johannesburg, Nairobi, Accra, Kigali to Dar es Salaam. Creativity is there, but the system itself, that's where the challenge begins. Many face lack of investment, poor infrastructure, limited mentorship, exploitation with contracts, minimal international exposure, and inconsistent opportunities. For example, in Tanzania, one of their models pretty successful from here. We have Flaviana Matata. When you at Flaviana Matata, after she had won Miss Universe Tanzania, went to Miss Universe, come back, did a little bit modeling in Tanzania, but it wasn't working out. She pivoted from Tanzania, she went to South Africa. She worked her way into modeling in South Africa. Until she got an opportunity. She went to Miss Universe in Bahamas. She met with Fadil Berisha. She told her to go to USA. At first, no agency signed her. She came back to South Africa, and then after a while, she went back. She found an agency in USA, and she has been in USA since. You can see how our industry has challenges here and there, especially Tanzania and across Africa. Because I remember a certain interview from 12 years ago, a designer said he would model about 100,000 Tanzanian shillings. It was like, oh, that's so tough. Another uncomfortable conversation we need to have. Global fashion industry push Eurocentric standards of beauty, lighter skin, certain facial features, specific head textures, specific body types, and unfortunately, remnant of these standards still exist in many African industries today. Some models feel pressure to change themselves to become marketable, and most of the powerful things happening right now is that African creative are reclaiming their narrative. They're telling African stories from African perspective, not for validation, but for authenticity. Africa fashion industry is a business and it's people lives. And until the foundation is taken seriously, a lot of dreams will continue to exist without proper direction. Now, despite all these challenges, there is progress happening. African fashion is becoming more globally recognized. We have some amazing designers from different parts of Africa. We've got David Talale, Lisa Folawiyo, Doreen Mashika, also Sherry Angowi. We see that we have these massive creative individuals and they're pushing the envelope into making sure that our fashion and modeling industry compete international levels. African fashion is becoming more globally recognized. African designers are appearing on international platforms. Models from Africa are walking global runways. Local fashion weeks are growing. We've got South Africa Fashion Week, Swahili Fashion Week, and social media has made more visibility and more accessibility than ever before. That's why every creative or talent, if you want to build a career in this industry, you should be able to lobby and advocate for yourself. Better negotiating skills. Read the contract properly. Also, we do need fair payment systems from stakeholders and about education within the industry and stronger agencies that would represent our talent locally, region-wise, and internationally. An industry that value people beyond aesthetics, because talent without structure leads to burnout. Before wrapping up, a little message to the creatives, models, and industry stakeholders. If you are listening to this, understand the industry can open doors for you, can build confidence, create opportunities, but at the same time, don't try and lose yourself to fit into spaces that only value appearances. Learn the business side, protect your image, read the contract carefully, know your worth, vouch for yourself, build skills beyond aesthetics, and never confuse visibility with stability. Because having followers is not the same as having security. And success that destroys your peace is not success. So, fashion and modeling are powerful forms of expression. They tell stories, preserve culture, inspire people, but behind every beautiful image is human being navigating pressure, ambition, survival, and identity. So maybe the real conversation is not just how do we make African fashion global, but also how do we make it sustainable, ethical, and humane for the people building it. Thank you for listening, reflecting, growing with me. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone in the creative industry, a model, a designer, stylist, photographer, or anyone chasing dream behind the scenes. Until next time, stay thoughtful, keep exploring, and let your thoughts become conversations.